Hello everyone, it's Sarah here again. Hope you had a wonderful Easter time with your family. I was thinking these days, although we can't physically travel anywhere because of the period we are in, what would it be like to travel with the help of books? So, today we are going to travel to London all the way there with the help of Paddington Bear. Now, until we start our story, let me tell you a few things about this amazing bear. He came all the way from Peru, which is somewhere in the south of America, to London. So it's a really long way. And in London, he found a loving family that takes care of him, and together they go on all sorts of adventures. The book we are going to read today follows Paddington as he goes to Buckingham Palace, where the Queen of England lives. So, let's get started. Are you ready? Paddington at the palace. One morning, Paddington and Mr. Gruber set out to see the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. It's one of the most important events which happens at Buckingham Palace. Millions of tourists go to see this every day in London. Mr. Gruber took his camera, Paddington took a flag on a stick in case he saw the Queen, and they both sat on the front seat of the bus so that they could see all the places of interest on the way. Here is them sitting on the bus. So London buses are called double-deckers, and in the first photo there's Mr. Gruber and Paddington leaving to go to Buckingham Palace. How exciting! The bus took them most of the way, then they had to walk through St. James's Park. It was a lovely sunny morning and there were flowers everywhere. I think I may pick some for the Queen, said Paddington. I'm afraid that's against the law, said Mr. Gruber. This is what is known as a royal park, and all the flowers belong to the Queen anyways. Besides, it would spoil it for others. If you like, I'll take a picture for your scrapbook instead. A scrapbook is a book where you put all sorts of photos so you remember the moments in which you took them. Fancy having a front garden as big as this, said Paddington. I wonder if she has to mow the lawn. Adigatun de yarba. Look, here is the garden we were talking about, which is actually as big as a park, St. James's Park. Mr. Gruber laughed, and then, as they drew near to some large gates, he pointed towards the roof of a building behind them. We're in luck's way, Mr. Brown, he said. There's a flag flying. That means the Queen is at home. Whoa, that's amazing. Honestly, I would really love to have tea with the Queen. Paddington peered through the railings and waved his own flag several times in case the Queen was watching. I think I saw someone in one of the windows, Mr. Gruber, he called excitedly. Do you think it was the Queen? Who knows, said Mr. Gruber. Look at them in front of Buckingham Palace. Soon afterwards they heard the sound of a band playing. The music got louder and louder, and there was a lot of shouting and the clump of marching feet. But by then there were so many people, Paddington couldn't see a thing. Oh, what a pity that he couldn't see a thing. There were really a lot of people, as I was telling you. Mr. Gruber wondered whether he ought to suggest holding Paddington up to see, but in the end he bought him a periscope instead. This is like a binocular to see at a distance. If you look through the bottom end, he explained, you can see over the top of people's heads. Paddington tried it out, but all he could see were other people's faces, and he didn't think much of some of those. In the end, he tried crawling through the legs of the crowd, but by the time he got to the other side, the band had passed away. So, in the first photos, you can see Mr. Gruber buying that periscope Paddington so he could see better. And in the second photo, Paddington is trying to crawl, but with not so much success. Better luck next time, I guess. "Look," said the small boy, pointing at Paddington. "One of the soldiers has dropped his hat." "It's what they call a bus-by, dear," said his mother. Paddington jumped to his feet. "I am not a bus-by," he cried. "I'm a bear." Gradually the crowd melted away until there were only a few people left. "Oh dear," said Mr. Gruber. "It's all over and I didn't even get a picture of you with one of the guardsmen." "I didn't even see them," said Paddington sadly. Look at poor Paddington standing on the ground. Just then a man in a bowler hat said something to a policeman by the gate and then pointed towards Paddington and Mr. Gruber. The policeman beckoned to them. He told them to come. "I have instructions to invite you inside so that you can take a proper photograph," he called. "You're very honored." What an interesting gesture. Look at the whole thing happening. Paddington felt most important as he and Mr. Gruber followed the policeman across the palace parade ground and the guard came to attention. "I think," he said as he stood to attention while Mr. Gruber took a photograph, "this guard is so good he doesn't need changing." So the guards at Buckingham Palace are instructed to stand very still throughout the entire time they have to stand there. They don't even look at people sometimes. They don't even move, so it's almost like they're statues, but they're very much alive. As they left the palace, Paddington stopped by the gates to wave his flag. "Do you think it was the Queen looking out of the window when we first came?" he asked. "It was either the Queen," said Mr. Gruber, "or it was someone who likes bears very much." As he took one last picture for Paddington's scrapbook, and he took. "You must mark the window with a cross when you paste it in, just in case." Look, there he is taking the photograph for Paddington's scrapbook. And here is the actual photo in the scrapbook, which says "Me at the Palace." So this is what Paddington wrote. This is the end of our story. Hope you liked it and can't wait to go on more adventures with you next week. If you have ever been to London, please tell me in the comments below and write your favorite place. See you next time. Goodbye.